As per usual, all my errands end up with me somehow being at Dollar Tree. So as I'm there anyway, I go ahead and look into the crafts aisle to see if I could find something that I like. And lo and behold, something I like was found. So hi everyone, I'm Ward, and welcome to my channel, Wardrawsalot. This week, we're going to be taking these stickers that I found at Dollar Tree and then using them to make a sketchbook spread. I literally, as soon as I saw these stickers in the aisle, I did the cheesy, corny, slow motion love moments in the movies. That's what I did for these stickers. I was like, wow, you're so beautiful. So I immediately was like, I need to buy 2 of them, and I've never seen them at Dollar Tree before, so maybe they do have more of them or something, or of different kinds, but these specifically, I definitely would have noticed beforehand. They have this beautiful jewel in the middle with this bronze coppery outside, and they're just so pretty and shiny, and I immediately, every neuron in my brain was like, yes, we have to get it. And just the way the light catches the jewel is so pretty, and it inspired me so much that I had to go ahead and do a sketchbook spread on at least one of the gems. I ended up making a character that I thought would fit the gem super well, and then continued on from there. Now, what I usually like to do is if I'm grabbing inspiration from something, I like to draw the thing that is inspiring me too. The sticker pack comes with 6 different jewels. All of them on the outside have this bronze, coppery, silverish gold, I don't know, it's a mix of all 4 outside, and they're all in a heart shape. But the thing that distinguishes them from each other, besides obviously the way that they are kind of shaped and designed, is the jewel in the middle. 2 of the jewels are heart-shaped. We have one that's blue and one that's pink. We have a circular purple jewel, along with an octagonal turquoise jewel, and then an ovular jewel that comes in purple and pink as well. Even though I liked all of them, the one that really stood out to me the most was the one on the top left, which had the blue heart on it. That one called out to me really hard when I was looking at it in the store, and I immediately thought of one of my characters wearing it as an earring. So naturally, because that was the one that even gave me inspiration in the first place, that's the one that I decided to use in this drawing this week. Coloring in the jewel I felt like wasn't going to be too bad, but what I did feel was going to give me some trouble was the outside metal of the jewel. Like I stated before, the metal part looks like this bronze, gold, silver, copper mess meshed into one, and I didn't know exactly what it was in particular, so I kind of just tried to take it up to the light, and I noticed that there was hints of green in the metal. And usually whenever there's a hint of green in the metal, you can kind of consider it more of a copper or a bronze, so that's what I decided to go with when I was coloring that part in. But of course, I have no idea how to color in bronze, so what I do is I ask the all-knowing known as Google, and I typed in how do you color basically metals, and then it gave me a link to this website called anniescatalog.com. On the website, they give you this tutorial on how to color in gold, silver, and copper. When I was looking at the tutorial, I would have never guessed the colors that I would have had to use to kind of give it that effect of a coppery bronze look, but I was surprised, and I actually learned quite a bit from it. When you look at metal, or at least me, I can't speak for everybody, I can tell that there's a bunch of colors mixed in there to make that bronzy, coppery color, but I never sit down and think what colors are needed, and this tutorial kind of helped me highlight that you need reds, browns, and greens to make a coppery color. The first color that was put down was R02, or a light red. On top of that was actually 2 different kinds of grays, which was warm gray 2 and warm gray 3, so one that's a little lighter and one that's darker. On top of the grays goes a light green, very pale green, and then after the pale green, you put down a brown to layer on top of that to help create that kind of rusted and oxidized look. Then it's finished off with E95, which is a slightly lighter orangey brown to help soften the whole thing. And after I colored in everything, I was like, wow, that does kind of remind me of a bronze or coppery color, especially if I look at it from the distance. So I thought that was a really helpful guide onto making a bronze color, and I might refer back to it in the future and even look more into what other kinds of coloring tutorials that they have, because although I've been using markers for years and I know how to color people and stuff, metals I'm not too sure, or like objects, again, still not too sure. The blues I didn't have too much of a trouble with because I knew if it was a gem, I had to kind of make sure that some parts were lighter where the light would hit it versus other parts where it would be darker, so there's dimension in the jewel. For the character, I really wanted to make sure that the way I draw the character matches the way the earring is set up. So I had one of two options. Either do a side profile where the earring can showcase itself very well, especially because it is front facing, or do a 3/4 angle and make sure that the ear is predominant and that the earring pops out on the side of the face. As you can see, I went for the 3/4 angle because any chance I get to, of course, I'm going to be doing the 3/4 angle. Now, when I was drawing this character out, I really wanted him to have pale skin and white hair. And as I was drawing him, he kind of reminded me of somebody who would have albinism. Simply put, albinism is a genetic condition where you have lack of pigmentation in any region of your body that of course has pigmentation. So basically everything. This specifically is genetic, so like if someone in your family has it and they marry someone else who has it, you're more likely to get albinism. But it is a rare condition. In fact, out of the millions of people born every year, less than like 20,000 of them will actually have albinism. You see, a majority of us will have some kind of pigment in our body, whether it's our hair, our eyes, and our skin. All of it has some kind of pigment. You might be really pale, but even then there's some kind of melanin within your body. Some people do have more melanin than others, which is why some people have lighter skin and some people have darker skin. Now, that melanin is actually pretty important for a multitude of reasons. Not only does it give our skin color, but it gives us protection from the number one enemy, the sun. Even though the sun is cool and like stuff like that, it's really like not great for you to be out in the sun all the time, which is why you should be wearing sunscreen as often as possible. And this character right here, the reason why he has such light skin besides the albinism is because he is not able to go out into the sun because of the sole fact that he has no melanin to protect himself from the rays that the sun give off, which are very harmful towards humans. So I made sure to keep that note when I was drawing the character, that his skin is definitely on the lighter side, and his hair is without pigmentation, which is why it is white. I put some streaks in there to kind of differentiate that there is hair there, but otherwise it is white hair. Some people just have really light blonde hair, or like really light brown hair, and others don't. And then the eye colors range from like a really light blue to like even like sometimes a light red. Coming back to the sketchbook spread, after I finished coloring both parts, because I usually like to do all of the coloring first, I go ahead and line everything after. This time, instead of using my usual Copic liners, I actually used the Micron liners, and the reason why I did that is because the brown in the Micron liner is much more pigmented than the brown in the Copic liner. Copic liners are nice, but sometimes they're just a little too soft for what I like, so the Microns really come in handy when I need a nice dark color to help stand out, especially when it's up against something like this bronzy color right here, where sometimes the liner would get lost in all of it, and I feel like then there would be no point to using that color line art with this kind of piece. So yeah, that's why I had to use the Micron. It's much darker and richer and would stand out much more up against the color that I have here. The Micron that I used specifically was the brown brush pen, mostly because I wanted a nice dynamic with the piece. So in some areas you could see that the line art is thicker, and in some areas it is thinner. This is because I really wanted to kind of make it more interesting to look at, so this way it doesn't look like this flat thing on the paper. That's the benefit of brush liners, is you really can give your piece a dynamic look, but at the same time you lose an amount of control when using them because it is a brush like tip. It's no longer the little bullet tip where you can control it as best as you can, and I have some pretty bad control with the brush tip, I'm not gonna lie, especially because it's been so long since I've consistently used a brush pen. I feel like with brush pens you have to keep practicing with them and then get used to them because they require a lot of hand control, and my hands and arms are pretty shaky, so it is a little bit more difficult for me to use something like a brush pen, but eventually I'll get used to it again. I just have to keep practicing. So my best friend for the entire piece was this white gel pen right here. It actually helped like enhance the drawing so much, especially because with the jewel in the middle, it really becomes super bright white when the light catches it in certain areas. So I decided to use it in some spots to make it look like the jewel is really shiny. I also went ahead and used it on the metal part, even though the sticker itself actually only has like shiny white highlights on the jewel part and not the metal part. I decided to use it there anyway to kind of emphasize that it is a metal. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe I should have, I don't know. I'm looking at it now, it still doesn't look too bad to me, but yeah, that's what I ended up doing to help kind of enhance the piece overall. For the character, I decided to use the regular microns instead of the brush tip, and that's because I wanted way more control while I was doing his face so I don't mess anything up. Of course, I did the eyes off camera because it's just more comfortable that way for me, especially because I get my face really close to the paper. I also decided as I was doing his eyes that I would use a blue ink instead to kind of make it look like he uses blue mascara around his blue eyes. So this way it kind of like, you know, just gives a different kind of character appearance. Although I would have done the regular line art, I feel like it makes it stand out a little bit more and makes him more interesting to look at as well. Especially because there is so much white to the drawing, like the hair and the eyebrows and the really pale skin, that I thought that the nice contrast of having a character with blue mascara would really pop out and just really make the character look super cool. So I just thought that that was a nice idea, along with a small little heart jewel that I put on his face. I really feel like that helped put focus right in the middle of his face. In like my little world as I'm coloring him, I'm thinking about what kind of character he is, and I thought that he could be royalty that like doesn't step outside of the castle because of his condition and because he doesn't want to get, you know, fucked over by the sun. So I thought that that would be a cool aspect, and I also thought of how the character would probably wear all white as well with blue elements to kind of match what he's got going on with his eye color and with the jewel that he has. I also thought it would be a cool idea to make an entire family of royalty and how each one would have their own respective jewel in the family. I think that that would be a cool idea, and if anything, I'd probably place it somewhere in the 15 and 1600s, just because that's kind of the vibe he's giving off to me, especially with the way the jewel looks. I think that that kind of emphasizes it a little bit more. Now, finally, the last steps of the drawing after I finish coloring him in, I take out the earring and I put it on his ear, of course. On the outside of the drawing, I go ahead and dust a light blue marker on it to try and give him a nice subtle background. Overall, I love this sketchbook spread and I totally want to do this again with another jewel. So yeah, thanks for watching and remember I love you. Bye!